Well, look who's back again. It's me again. Matter of fact, this is somewhat monumental. Do you know this is only the third time since I came on YouTube in April of 2017, 4 years ago? Oh, I forgot to mention. Yeah, man, my 4th anniversary, my 4-year anniversary on YouTube just passed. I forgot to mention that. Wait, let me look and see the specific date of my first video. You hear my son in the background? I don't know if you can hear him. He's making a lot of noise in the background. Okay. My very first video, oh, it passed already, was on April 5th. What's the day? April 10th. So it was 5 days ago. Which would have been what? Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. No, Monday. I'm sorry. Monday. Yeah, this past Monday was actually my 4-year anniversary of being on YouTube. Yeah, I did my very first video podcast on YouTube on April 5th of 2017. And if there's at least one thing unique about that video podcast, other than it being my very first, that's the only video podcast I did as a live stream. It was actually not a pre-recorded video. It was actually a live stream, but it was a failed live stream. Yeah, the video quality was horrible. I don't know if it's because of my internet connection. I just didn't have the right video equipment, but the video quality was very poor. And secondly, I had hardly nobody watching. I think I literally had like 10 people watching. Yeah, I think at best, I had about 10 to 15 people watching it live. Most of the people who watched that video was after the live stream was over, but it was only about 10 to 15 people that were watching it live. Because I didn't have enough name recognition yet on YouTube. Yeah, but yeah, so 5 days ago, this past Monday was my 4-year anniversary on YouTube. But what I was going to say is, beginning with April 5th of 2017 up until now, this is only my 3rd time doing as many as 3 videos 3 days in a row. It's only the 3rd time I've ever done as many as 3 videos 3 days in a row. The very last time was August of last year. Yep, it was August of last year. And I think the first time was late May, early June of 2018. Yeah, late May, early June of 2018, I did as many as 3 videos in a row, 3 days in a row. And then last August, I did a video on August 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. I actually did 4 videos 4 days in a row. But yeah, this will be my 3rd video 3 days in a row. Why am I back? Combination of 2 reasons. One, I had a very lively discussion in my Patreon exclusive live stream earlier today. Speaking of live stream, yeah, as you know, I don't do public live streams. I'm one of the few content creators in the manosphere, and particularly the Black manosphere, that doesn't do any. Well, one other person I can think of who rarely, if ever, does public live streams is Ron Wills. Yeah, I've seen him do occasional, I think, live streams, but generally, Ron Wills is another person off the top of my head. Ron Wills hardly ever does public live streams. I think pretty much all his live streams are private. And same here. Again, that very first video I did on April 5th of 2017, that was the only attempt I made at a public live stream. Since then, all my live streams have been Patreon exclusive for Patreon subscribers. Oh, But I was saying the reason why I'm doing this third video 3 days in a row, yeah, half of it is because of some things we discussed in my Patreon live stream, and secondly, because of some feedback, and more specifically, critical feedback I got from a handful of guys in response to my last 2 videos. Guy asked me, he said, Alan, I noticed on 2 or 3 of your most recent videos, you said if a guy favors indirect verbal game more so than direct verbal game, that means he doesn't really understand women like you do. And you said, you offered that the main reason why is because you said most indirect guys don't understand the sexually duplicitous nature of women. He said, I respectfully disagree. He said, I've listened to a number of indirect dating coaches that realize that you have some women in society that are good girls, while you have other women in society that are sluts. He said just about all men in society understand that, so I would have to disagree with you. Y'all know what's coming. Insert dog face here. What have you noticed in at least 3 of my top 5 books? What have you noticed one particular subject I talk about in at least 3? I talk about this in Ooh, Say It Again. I talk about it in The Possibility of Sex. And I talk about it in The Beta Male Revolution. And I think I even touch on it in my updated versions of Mode 1. What do you think that is? The Madonna whore complex. The Madonna whore complex. See, in simple terms, man, most men in society suffer from the Madonna whore complex. That was first coined and created by the legendary psychologist Dr. Sigmund Freud. Dr. Sigmund Freud. He asserted that the vast majority of men in society suffer from the Madonna whore complex. What does that mean in simple terms? When you suffer from the Madonna whore complex, you believe that all women fall into 2 convenient categories. You believe all women fall into 2 categories, either marriageable good girls or unmarriageable sluts. Marriageable good girls or unmarriageable sluts. If your line of thinking towards women is like that, that means you're a victim of the Madonna whore complex. In simple terms, that's when you're a victim of the Madonna whore complex. You suffer from the effects of the Madonna whore complex. Yeah, anytime you're a guy, again, if you own my book, Ooh, Say It Again, which I know a good number of you watching right now probably don't, but if anybody owns my book, Ooh, Say It Again, you know I put women in 5 categories, which is 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. See, this is what most guys in society do. I'm going to tell you what most guys in society do, including my new philosophical rival, the Saint in the Center, aka Marquette Devon Burton. He's included now in this category. See, most guys in society, they look at women as either 1s or 5s. That's what they look at women as. They look at women as either 1s or 5s. And I can tell from some comments I got in my comment section recently that that's how the vast majority of women, the vast majority of men, particularly in the manosphere, that's how they look at women. They look at women as either 1s or 5s. To break it down again, and this is giving you a free excerpt from my book, Ooh, Say It Again, a 5 is a woman that only engages in sexual relations with a man that is her husband or at bare minimum, her fiance. In other words, she got to have a ring on her finger before she opens her legs. That's what you would call a genuine good girl. A genuine prudish monogamy-oriented good girl would be a 5. A 5 is not opening up her legs for you if you don't have an engagement ring on her finger or a wedding ring on her finger. That's a 5. Nuns would also fall into a 5. But nuns, of course, practice celibacy. But yeah, a 5 would be either a woman who's like a nun that doesn't engage in sexual relations with men at all because she's eternally practicing celibacy, or if she engages in sexual relations with a man, she only engages in sexual relations with a man who is her husband or at bare minimum her fiance. She got to have a ring on her finger. No ring, like my mother. I said that about my mother. My mother was a genuine good girl. I would say at least half the women in my mother's and grandmother's generations were 5s. Like my mother didn't have sex with any man other than my father, my biological father. I know that for a fact. And both her sisters attested to that. I know that for a fact. My mother did not have sex with any man other than my father. My father. That's the only man. And again, she wasn't really necessarily an exception to the rule in her generation. Most of the women who came from middle class, upper middle class families in my mother's generation were 5s. So that's a 5. A 4 is a woman that highly prefers to only have sex with a man who is her husband, her fiance, or at minimum, her long-term boyfriend. That's her strong preference. But she will at least occasionally indulge in a few episodes of short-term, non-monogamous casual sex. She will occasionally indulge in episodes of short-term, non-monogamous casual sex. I would estimate that roughly 35% of the women I've had casual sex with in my life have been 4s. Now, I would estimate that roughly 30 to 35% of the women I've had sex with, casual sex with in my life, have been 4s. That's why I wrote Mo One Hardcore. You read the subtitle, How to Get Women Who Normally Don't Indulge in Casual Sex to Indulge in Casual Sex. That's what I was mainly referring to. That's what a 4 is. A 4 is a woman that under most circumstances refrains from indulging in casual sex. But if you're a bad motherfucker, if you're a combination of physically good looking in her eyes, you're very confident and masculine, you got a sense of alpha male dominance, and probably most importantly, you got an ultra smooth, seductive mouthpiece, you can break down a 4. You can break down a 4. I'm one of those bad motherfuckers who can break down a 4. I'm cocky enough to say that. I'm one of those bad motherfuckers who can break down a 4. That's why I've had sex with married women. Everybody knows that. That's no secret. When I was between 17 and 37, I had sex with as many as 40 women that were either married, engaged to be married, or had a long-term boyfriend. You don't accomplish that by being an average motherfucker. So that's a 4. Next is a 3. A 3 is a woman that's always publicly going to present herself as if she's a 4, or even in some cases as if she's a 5, when in actuality, she indulges in casual sex, what I would call semi-regularly. But she's real good at hiding that aspect, that duplicity in her sex life. That's a 3. That's a 3. I would estimate probably another equal percentage, about the same percentage. I would estimate that probably another 25 to 30% of the women I've had casual sex with have been threes. Yeah, I would estimate that probably 25 to 30% of the women I've had casual sex with have been threes. 2. A 2 is a woman that, similar to a 3, is going to always publicly present herself as if she's a 4. She's going to publicly present herself as if she's a 4, when in actuality, she's extremely promiscuous. She engages in episodes of short-term non-monogamous sex all the time. She is what a lot of guys would probably call a closet slut. A closet slut. That's a 2. A 2 is basically a woman who's a highly promiscuous slut, but she doesn't have the courage to just openly admit that. She exhibits the behavior of a highly promiscuous slut, but she doesn't have the courage to publicly and openly admit that. That's a 2. I would estimate that, probably, I don't know, 15 to 20% of the women I've had casual sex with have been 2s. Yeah. Those are easy to detect. I can detect a 2 like that. Like, that's one thing that amazed some of my clients over the years, my Patreon subscribers, is that I've repeatedly told them, see, I can read women so well that 90% of the time, I could be around a woman for no more than 5 minutes and I can tell if she's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It takes me, on average, there's a few exceptions, but on average, it takes me no more than roughly 5 minutes to assess if a woman's a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Sometimes I can tell as quickly as the first, I'd say 60 to 90 seconds after I start talking to a woman. At minimum, I can tell what category a woman is in at no later than roughly the 5-minute mark. And then the final category is a 1. A 1 is a woman that's a highly promiscuous slut, and she'll tell you she is. She don't try to hide it or deny it. Like, the easiest example would be a porno star. A woman who's an active porno star or something similar, or a street prostitute, or a call girl, or an upscale erotic escort. Any type of professional sex worker would fall into that category. Porn actresses would fall into that category, and a few other types. That's a 1. A 1 is a woman who's very kinky, very highly promiscuous, and she has no problems letting you know. She don't care what other people think. She don't care if other people pass judgment on her for it. She'll be like, I'm a slut. I'll tell you I'm a slut. Like, what's that woman who used to date Kanye West? Amber Love, is it? I think it's, no, Amber Rose. Amber Rose, is it? Amber Love, Amber Rose, one of those two. She's in that category. She one time openly admitted that she was a slut. She came out publicly and said, I'm a slut. She said, I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm a slut. But see, what I notice about when I get feedback from certain guys, particularly more specifically what I affectionately call my haters and critics, again, starting with my initial assertion, most men in society, they treat all women in society like they're either 1s or 5s. Indirect guys do that like 99% of the time. They talk about women like they're either 1s or 5s. They might occasionally include 2s. If you notice, most conventional PUAs and indirect verbal game coaches, they're only willing to acknowledge 1s, 5s, and occasionally they'll acknowledge 2s. You never hear them talking about 3s and 4s. You rarely, if ever, hear them acknowledge the existence of 3s or 4s. You don't, because they suffer from the Madonna horror complex. They don't see, this relates to, everybody by now in the manosphere knows about men who experience what's known as red pill rage. What do you think over half the reason why guys experience red pill rage? Why? Why? Nobody experiences red pill rage if they believe that the only women that exist are ones and fives or even ones, twos, and fives. No man is going to experience red pill rage if he believes that all women in society are either ones or fives or ones, twos, or fives. If you believe one of those two things, you're not going to experience red pill rage. The number one time you're going to experience red pill rage is once you experience something that opens your eyes to the fact that there are threes and fours in society. That's the number, mark my words on this. I put money on it. That's the number one time when a man's going to experience red pill rage is when he realizes that there's threes and fours in society because it fucks up their whole mindset. Most men do not want to accept that. You know one guy who talks about that other than me? And I promoted it. I probably promoted this guy's book more than any other book that I did not write myself. That's this book right here. What Do Women Want by Daniel Bergner. What Do Women Want by Daniel Bergner. This is my dude right here. He breaks it down, man. I don't want to get into a lengthy critique of his book. He breaks it down. There's a lot of similarities in different portions of the book to my book, Who Said Again. It almost makes me think he might have read my book, Who Said Again. He basically addresses the sexually duplicitous nature of women in his book, which was published in 2013, that I cover in my book, Who Said Again, which came out in 2011. See, going back to that original guy's comment, he said, Alan, all guys understand the nature of sexual duplicity. We all realize that some women are good girls. That's not what it means to be a sexually duplicitous woman. If you just simply recognize that there's fives and ones in society, that does not mean you understand sexual duplicity. Here's when you know you understand sexual duplicity is when you understand and are willing to acknowledge the existence of the threes and fours of society. That's when you can say you understand a woman's sexually duplicitous nature, which most indirect guys don't. Why? How do I know this? Anytime you're dumb enough to say Mo 1 only works on sluts, you're a Madonna whore dumbass. Quote me on it. Spread that throughout the whole manosphere. Anytime you say Mo 1 only attracts and works on sluts, you are a Madonna horror complex, highly judgmental dumbass. You are a Madonna horror complex, highly judgmental dumbass. You don't know women. The first guy I had this type of venom towards in this regard was a guy just mentioned in a recent video. The guy from London, Yad. Are you familiar with a term called circular logic? Most of you, I think, are. But for those of you who are not familiar with circular logic, here's an example of circular logic. Yad used this in regards to Mo 1 in London. This is what Yad said. And here would be an example of circular logic. When you say something like, Mo 1 doesn't work, it's not effective, and if it is effective, it's only effective on women who are highly promiscuous slags. That's the British term for sluts, slag. That's what Yad said on stage in London. He said essentially, he didn't say my specific brand name, Mo 1. He said verbally direct game is what he said. He didn't say actually Mo 1. He said verbally direct game. He said verbally direct game does not work on, first his assertion was verbally direct game does not work. And then he turned around and said, if it does work, that automatically means a woman is a highly promiscuous slag. I was going to give him a dog face, but I've given Yad so many dog faces in the past, it would be redundant at this point. But he was one of the first guys in Manosphere that I would put in the category of a Madonna horror complex, highly judgmental dumbass. That's circular logic. That would be like me saying Mode 2 is ineffective. Everybody knows that. Mode 2 is ineffective with women. And if it is effective, it's only effective with women who are attention whores and materialistic gold diggers. If I said that, that would be representative of circular logic. Mode 2 is ineffective. It's ineffective. And if it does work on a woman, that automatically means that woman is either an attention whore and or a materialistic gold digger. That's circular logic. Basically, circular logic is when you first assert that something definitely does work and is effective. On the flip side, you assert that something definitely doesn't work and is ineffective. And then you follow that up by saying, but if it does work, it only works for this type of person. It only works for this type of person. Like if you were to say low-fat diets compared to low-carb diets don't work. Low-fat diets don't work. And if they do work, they only work for men and women with naturally high metabolisms. That's circular logic. That's what a lot of people do with Mode 1. The first, some guys would just say it don't work, period. In maximum, some guys would just say it doesn't work, period. And then the more majority of guys will say Mode 1 doesn't work, is ineffective, but if it does work, it means the guy is exceptionally handsome. The woman is a highly promiscuous slut. Yeah, those are the main two. Most guys would usually say their first assertion would be Mode 1 doesn't work, is ineffective. And if it does work, it's because either A, the man is exceptionally handsome, and or B, the woman is highly promiscuous. Both are flawed arguments, particularly B. I would say both are flawed arguments, and particularly B. Let me ask you a question. A real, genuine question. I'm not asking this question to be lighthearted or facetious. This is a serious question. Serious question. Let's say you were at some high-class social event. I ain't talking about no low-class raggedy event. You were at like a, in us black people terms, bougie event. High-class, upscale social event. Full of men and women who are earning six figures, are highly educated, not only have an undergraduate degree from an accredited, highly respected college, but have a graduate degree. MBA, law degree, medical degree, master's degree in some field, PhD. Let's say you had a function like that. Okay, you got that? You had a high class, what they call highfalutin. A highfalutin, or what black people call a bougie function. You had a bougie function. And this drop-dead gorgeous woman who looks very classy. You could tell she has upper middle class pedigree. Intelligent, articulate, walks up to you and says, hello, my name is Angela. And you say, whatever your first name. You say, hey, my name is Jonathan. She says, Jonathan, I'm just going to cut through the small talk and get to the point. I think you're a very handsome man. I think you ooze masculine sex appeal. And I would like to invite you back to my condominium so we can have wild, unadulterated, wild sex. What do you say? How would you respond to that woman? I'm curious to know, really. And again, some people might think this is like kind of just me trying to be funny or something. I'm dead serious. How would you respond? And even taking a step further, getting out of yourself, not only first, how would you individually respond? And then if I was asked you, how do you think out of, say, 100 men at that event, if they got approached in the exact same way, how do you think they would respond? Would you say, oh my God, that's disgusting. Why are you so crass and disrespectful? You have no home training to approach me with a proposition like that. Oh my God. You lack class. That was rude and insulting and socially inappropriate for you to even suggest something like that. Would you have that type of reaction? Huh? Would you? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. If you're a hater or harsh critic of Mode 1, I would have more respect for you if you were to say, yes, Alan, I would have that type of reaction. I would be disgusted by such a forward sexual proposition like that. If you're a guy who's a hater / harsh critic of my Mode 1 approach, and you were to say that if a woman approached you like that, you would be disgusted, I actually have more respect for you. But for all you other guys who would say, oh, of course I'd take that pussy. If she was classy looking, respectable looking, drop dead gorgeous, sexy, intelligent, articulate, earning a 6-figure salary, and highly educated, and she approached me like that, hell yeah, I would go to her condominium and fuck the shit out of her. If that would be your response, you're a Madonna whore complex, highly judgmental hypocrite, dumbass. You're a hypocritical dumbass. Get on Skype with me so I can tell you directly to your face, motherfuckers. You're a hypocritical dumbass. If you're criticizing men for being straightforward with women about their sexual desires, interests, and intentions, but you have no criticisms for women who do the same thing, then you're a fucking hypocrite. You're a highly judgmental, Madonna whore complex influence hypocrite. Period. So, assuming you are a guy who would have a different reaction with a woman, you'd be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll be down if a woman approached you like that, but I don't believe men should approach women like that. Why not? Why? You think women don't like to fuck? You think women don't like good dick? You think women don't masturbate to their sexual fantasies? Is that what you believe? Like Daniel Bergman? You know what Daniel Bergman said? The best, I remember the exact words, so I'm going to be slightly paraphrasing. But of all the things he says about, here's the one stretch that I love. I forget which chapter it's in. But he essentially says, again, I'm paraphrasing. But he essentially says, there is no such thing biologically, there is no such thing as a good girl or a slut. Biologically, there's no such thing as a good girl or a slut. Those are just highly subjective labels that we place on women to determine if they're marriageable or not. We give a woman the title of good girl if we think they're worthy of being married, proposed marriage to, and we call them sluts if we think they're not worthy of being proposed marriage to. That was the general sentiment during what's known as the Victorian era in Europe. That was the main thing during the Victorian era. And it was primarily promoted by women just as much, if not more, than the men. Uppity women. Uppity high-class women believe that you were only worthy of being proposed marriage to if you were a virgin. If you were not a virgin, they believe you were a slut. Yeah, that's how, in the Victorian era, basically women were in the two categories. You were either a virgin, which was worthy of being proposed marriage to, or you were a slut. Even if you say only had sex with 2 or 3 men outside the context of marriage, you were a slut. You were considered a slut, or slag in British terms. You were considered a slut. They only had 2 categories, virgin or slut. But yeah, Daniel Bergman breaks it down. He said, thing I love, he said, man, men want to believe that the vast majority of women in society are prudish, strictly monogamy-oriented, prudish, yeah, I already said that, prudish or semi-prudish, strictly monogamy-oriented, relationship-oriented good girls who only indulge in sex with a man who's their husband, fiance or long-term boyfriend because it makes them sleep better at night. I love when he said that. He said, because it makes them sleep better at night. That's what it does to all you motherfuckers who say shit, dumb shit, like Mo 1 only attracts sluts. You want to believe that the women you've been in a relationship with were good girls. That's what you want to believe. If you're married, you want to believe your wife is a good girl. If you're engaged to be married, you want to believe she's a good girl. If you got a long-term girlfriend, you want to believe she's a pristine good girl. Why did I fuck so many fucking married women then? If all women who are married are good girls, why did I fuck so many of them? Answer me that question. If all women who are worthy of being married, worthy of being a man's fiance, worthy of being a man's long-term girlfriend are such good girls, why did I fuck most of them less than 72 hours after I met them? Drops mic. And y'all wonder why a lot of guys get red pill rage. So going back again to the original comment, the guy said, Alan, you say that conventional PUAs and indirect verbal game coaches don't understand women, and specifically they don't understand the sexually duplicitous nature of women. Well, all men understand that you have good girls and sluts. Yeah, again, of course all guys understand that you got ones and fives in society. That's a no-brainer. The more challenging thing is to enlighten guys to the fact that you have 2s, 3s, and 4s. Particularly 3s and 4s. I think even a lot of indirect guys recognize that a lot of women are 2s. So not only do most indirect guys know that there's 1s and 5s in society, I'd say for the most part, they know that there's 2s in society. But in the same way, you rarely, if ever, hear indirect guys and conventional PUAs talk about the existence of manipulative time wasters because it would kill their business. I talked about that already. I'm not going to rehash it, but it would kill their business. Similarly, they don't acknowledge the existence of 3s and 4s. They don't. They don't acknowledge the existence. Because if they did, they wouldn't say dumb shit like Mo 1 only. See, what they're assuming, when they say that, what they're assuming is, in a nutshell, they're assuming that if I can get a woman in bed less than 24 to 48 hours after I meet them, that all men who come in contact with that same woman will be able to get in bed that quickly. Wrong. Wrong. That's where you're fucking dead 1,000% wrong. 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 I'll put $25,000 on that bet. Put up your money or shut the fuck up. Anytime, any hater or critic of mine who says, if you use Mo 1, it won't work, and if it does work, that automatically means the woman's a highly promiscuous slut. Again, what you're saying is, if Alan Roger Currie gets that woman in bed the same day he meets her, then that means 9 out of every 10 men who meet that same woman going to be able to get in bed the same day they meet him. Wrong. Here's the logical, if you just use any halfway decent degree of logical sense, if every single woman that I've had casual sex with, and this is what I talked about in my live stream, was legitimately a highly promiscuous slut, that would mean one of two things. That would mean that none of my former casual sex partners would have been worthy of being proposed marriage to because they would have had a reputation for being a highly promiscuous slut. No man in their right mind would have proposed marriage to them. And if they were to get married, realistically, they would be divorced within 5 years or less. Because see, one thing about sluts, women who are truly sluts, They don't change their stripes. They don't change their stripes. Particularly if they're still in their 20s or 30s. They don't change their stripes. If they're a slut, that means they have an addiction to new and different dick. Just like you have some womanizers who have an addiction to new and different pussy. That's what a true slut is. A true slut is a woman that has pretty much what you could call an addiction to experiencing sexual relations with new and different dick on a regular basis. That's a slut. That's a slut. That's a true slut. Slut is a woman who regularly wants to experience new and different dick. What woman like that is going to be able to stay married for more than, say, 2 years, 3 years, definitely more than 5 years? What woman like that is going to be able to stay married? She's going to be cheating all on her husband. And at some point, her husband's going to find out about it. Come on, man. You serious? See, here's what you guys are really saying. Here's what you guys are really saying when you want to throw this slut title all around. What you're really saying is, again, if Alan Roger Currie is able to use his highly proficient mouthpiece to get a woman's pussy wet and be able to fuck her less than 72 hours or less after he meets them, then obviously she must be a slut. See, not only am I a master verbal seducer, I know all the elements of what's known as conversational hypnosis, which means in simple terms, I can not just simply seduce your woman. I can put her, if only for a few minutes, in a hypnotic trance. But fortunately now, I'm happily married to my wife. We have a beautiful son. And I ain't trying to fuck a bunch of women, let alone some other man's wife, fiance. Actually, I stopped doing that at the age of 38. I stopped doing that at the age of 38. Yeah, the last time I had sex with a woman that was either married, engaged or married, or had a long-term boyfriend was when I was 37 years old. So again, addressing my question, if you were at a high-class function, and again, you knew ahead of time that the woman was highly educated, had a graduate degree of some sort, was earning at least 6 figures, was drop-dead gorgeous, ultra sexy, really intelligent and articulate, and she approached you and said, "What is your name? My name is Angela. What is your name?" And you told her your name, and she said, I think you're very handsome. I think you're oozing with masculine sex appeal. And I would like to invite you back to my condominium after this party is over so we can have wild, unadulterated sex. Again, if you're a hater or harsh critic of Mo 1, number one, and number two, you think an approach like that from a woman, you would find that approach disgusting and at minimum highly inappropriate, then that's when I have no criticism of you. Because at least you're consistent. In other words, you don't believe men should be Mo 1 with women, and you don't believe women should be Mo 1 with men. So at least you're consistent. So I don't really have too many criticisms of you. But if you're a guy who's a hater and harsh critic of Mo 1, but if it was flipped and a woman essentially was Mo 1 with you, even more so Mo 1 hardcore with you, and you would have no problem with it, then you are a Madonna whore influenced, highly judgmental, dumbass hypocrite. Quote me on that. That's what you are. And I will repeat again, you don't understand women. At least not to the level that I do. Because there's a lot of women that had a reputation for being classy, respectable, monogamy oriented. The type of woman who had a reputation for only indulging in sex with a man who was a husband, fiance, or boyfriend that this motherfucker right here seduced and fucked in 72 hours or less after he met her. Facts.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.
I have to agree with you on the communication piece, because I actually did take a session with Alan Roger Currie, and he gave me a line that I did not think was going to work, and it worked. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my God!
Man, he's the master. He's the master of the verbal seduction. He got that communication piece down pat.
It really worked. It just simply worked, and I just didn't think it was going to work at all.
Some guys have natural handles. Some guys have a better natural shot, but you can always improve your shot. And sex is damn sure something you can fucking learn. Look, dude, you want to learn how to talk better? I'm hiring Alan Roger Currie to get my dirty talk game on, because it's always been something I want to get better at.
Verbal seduction, man. I'm like, clearly, this guy's the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, come on now.